Hey, what's up, guys? This is Nate, and I'm Jaren. Today, I don't have any particular news story that I want to cover in any sort of detail. I just want to get something off my chest about what Donald Trump is doing in terms of foreign relations in his second term in office. Th- This is important, I think, in two main ways. But it all relates to how the US is situating itself on the world stage. Now, going back in history, the US didn't start off as some sort of economic or military powerhouse in the world. After it gained its independence back in the 1700s, it was a relatively poor nation. It was a relatively small nation. It had not yet manifested its destiny all across the continent and murdered what remained of the Native Americans after smallpox wiped out most of the population. Um, and it remained this way with the US not being a main power on the world stage for a couple hundred years. But things really ramped up in the 20th century with the world wars, with the US being able to come in after most of the fighting had already been happening and people had already been killing each other and weakening each other, and the US came in and we basically finished up the wars. And after World War II, the US was indisputably in the Western world the superpower. Uh, we ended up winning, so to speak, the Cold War. Russia's influence fell, the Soviet Union fell apart, and the US was alone, the leader of the free world. And it lasted for such a short amount of time before things just went to shit. After 9/11, we invaded Iraq, we destabilized the Middle East in so many ways. I mean, we did this as well in the 20th century, but we somehow got away with it with our uh, with both our hard power and our soft power intact, still as the leaders of the world. But things have been going downhill in this regard for a long time. Our image has been tarnished over and over and over by the decisions that our leaders are making, both at home and definitely abroad. And it's all coming to a head in Trump, both economically and now militarily as well. And it's just so wild that I just wanted to talk about it. So, the big thing, the first thing that happened immediately when he took office this year was the tariffs. There's so much that we could say about the tariffs. Basically, all of it bad. My favorite thing is that to calculate the tariffs, they basically went to Chat GPT and asked what the trade deficit is between the US and every other country in the world, both big and small countries, uh, countries that don't even have things that they would want to, I don't know, import from the States, and or like they don't have money to do anything like that. So they only export to us, blah, blah, blah. The administration just took every deficit as some sort of, or like, yeah, took every difference in trade as some sort of deficit that needed to be made up for. And that's why basically everywhere in the world now has some sort of tariff that are being applied and then unapplied and blah blah blah. It's just been a fiasco. But it has very successfully taken away any sense of security that any of our enemies or allies can feel when it comes to trade with the United States. Because you just never know day to day, week to week, whether Donald Trump is going to unilaterally decide to slap on a new tariff on something that's going to be imported. So this has been just disastrous foreign policy. Uh, Tariffs, they can be a good tool. Some protectionism can be a good way to keep certain sectors of the American economy safe when other players around the world are willing to do shady things in order to bring more manufacturing, for example, to their territories. I'm looking at you, China. But he's using like instead of the scalpel that tariffs are meant to be, he's using it as a sledgehammer and just breaking everything, breaking down all of the relationships. And there's just I can't really see a way back from this for the United States. I can't see how we can convince other countries that we're going to be able to provide a stable economic relationship with us now that it's so obvious that all it takes is one madman sitting at the seat in the Oval Office to just absolutely tear everything apart. Uh, so it's just crazy. It's just stupid. It it harms Americans. This has not been good for American-based manufacturing either, because there are tariffs on the raw materials that we can't or don't have the full infrastructure or capacity to make in the states. Steel is a big example. So even like American-made products are suffering from all of these tariffs because they're just being done so stupidly. So that's one thing. Another thing is NATO. NATO is just such a big topic right now. And Trump is and has been so shaky with his views on NATO, not just in this second term, but also in his first term. Uh, I mean, it is true that by joining NATO, other countries have agreed to commit a certain percentage of their GDP to defense, to the full funding of NATO, and all this stuff. And not every country was fulfilling their obligation. Sure, uh, a really bad thing to do about that is to threaten the entire apparatus of NATO, to threaten America's status in NATO, to threaten that if things don't change, then the entire project will be moot. But that's exactly what Trump has done. He has completely weakened the foundations of NATO. He's completely uh, weakened people's faith in America's leadership of NATO, both politically and militarily, in terms of like actual money spent on the project, support given to its allies. The latest example in the last few weeks. There aren't a bunch of details available on this that I've been able to find yet, but uh, and it didn't even come from the Trump administration directly contacting other ally uh, governments or NATO offices around the world. But there was reporting that the Trump regime is planning to lower the funding for certain programs that directly support the Baltic states right on the border with Russia. Uh, and I mean, I couldn't find a set schedule for when this is supposed to happen or how much less the funding is supposed to be. But the response from the administration here, and this is very indicative of what I'm talking about overall with this destabilization of all of our relationships around the world, is that uh, indeed the allies in NATO should learn how to fend for themselves, to support their own militaries better, and to not rely so much on the United States. No matter what you think about that sentiment, even if you agree with it, the way that things are being done right now, the fact that this could leak through the media first without the Trump administration having reached out directly to its own ally governments about this, is it just speaks so poorly of how the US is being run right now and how poorly the US will probably respond if and when NATO support will actually be needed. whether it's in the Baltics or anywhere else. And so, in summation, both economically, in terms of trade, and militarily, in terms of support, in terms of leadership, in terms of hard power and soft power and economic power and everything, the US, who had everything going for it in such a short amount of time, has just overseen single-handedly the collapse of its own status in the world. And maybe this is all for the greater good. Maybe the US just wasn't that good of a leader in the first place. But still, the instability that this invites globally is just so damaging, both for Americans and for everyone else. So I just wanted to rant on that a little bit, because it just aggravates me that things can go this poorly for such stupid reasons, and because of such a stupid person being in power, because such stupid people put him in power and have kept him there. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I'm sure there'll be news coming out that'll make me say a lot of the same things I just said, but with more details to back it up. So, prepared for me to repeat myself on this topic a lot. Thank you for watching. Put it down in the comments if you have any thoughts, anything else that Trump's done that's destabilizing that I didn't go over that you think I should go over in the future. I hope everyone has a good day, because I'm not having one. Bye.